My name is Lou. I live in Chintsa in South Africa, and I run a school called African Angels. The school started in 2012, and we started the school to give parents a choice of where their kids would get a primary school education. And our vision is for each child to reach their full potential and to grow into fantastic South African citizens. We started with 25 kids in grades R1 and 2, and this year we opened with 153 kids, all from low income backgrounds, all from Xhosa speaking households, from grades R to 7. So we provide not only a quality education, we provide a holistic education. For example, in lockdown, when we were allowed to bring the kids back, we brought our 2 oldest grades back into our hostel for the whole 10 weeks of the term. And I would go in on Saturday afternoons and we would do ethics podcasts. So ethics is something that's very dear to my heart because there's no right or wrong. You have to work through those ethical questions. And so we used a podcast that would give real scenarios that the kids had to work through, like was it his fault he became a thief? Or was it society who made him a thief? So we don't just teach ABCs. We teach kids about recycling. We teach them about being kind to animals. We teach them about being kind to each other. We help them navigate a lot of the issues that happen in their lives. We've had parents who have died, not specifically through COVID. We've had home lives where there's enough to eat. And so we support the children holistically. We provide them nutritious food at school, around safe accommodation, safe schooling, safe transport. And we don't use corporal punishment, we use positive discipline, and we teach the kids how to be self-disciplined and respect themselves and others. So we are not just about educating kids, we're about growing citizens. That's a really good question. The first thing that I'll say is that because we partner so strongly with parents, the parents understand, well, first of all, the parents must apply for their kids to come to the school. We don't solicit applications, and then we interview the parents. We ask them why they want their child to come to the school. And when we first started, we had English-speaking teachers only, and they said because we want our kids to learn English. Now we're 9 years down the track, they say we want our kids to have different futures than ours. And because over the past 9 years we have collaborated so closely with parents, they've developed our hair policy, our uniform policy, our sponsorship policy, which child gets a sponsorship first, because they are part of our school community. So we, 2 years ago, a delegation of our parents went to the Department of Education to motivate for the independent school subsidy, which we don't yet have. And when they were told, no, that school is a business, they said, no, it's our school. We are the community and it's a school for our community. So the parents will always be the most important figure in the kids' lives. We are a small part of that. So I suppose the best answer to your question is we work as closely with our parents as we do with the kids to make sure we all understand the journey that we're on, because at the end of the day, the parent and African Angels wants the best for the child. That's what it's all about. It's not about us, it's actually about the kids. And if we keep that in mind with every decision we make, then hopefully at the end, we will see more children growing up doing the right thing, making better choices. But it's hard because you get faced with very difficult choices in South Africa and you see different choices being made by people that you love, and you have to navigate your way through that. So I don't think we can measure it yet. We have a specific type of teacher that works well at our school. First of all, you can't really well wear high heels because the school, it's quite a rural, it's on a farm and it's beautiful. It's like got a big field and trees all around, and we're in a valley. But the teachers, we have a teacher's assistant who grew up in Chintsa. Our Xhosa language teacher is from Chintsa. Our admin head lives in Chintsa. Most of our, actually about half of our teachers live in Chintsa. A couple live in East London and a couple live at the school. We have had volunteers from overseas who have supported the teaching team, but all of our teachers are SACE accredited, fully qualified and paid. Because you can have volunteers, but volunteers go home, right? You need, and our kids don't do well with change of staff. They've had a lot of abandonment in their lives through some ways, and you want them to build solid relationships, particularly the boys with the male teachers, because they need to see as many positive male role models as possible, because many have absent fathers. And that's the other thing, if we're ever going to get on top of gender-based violence in South Africa, we need to be growing better men. And that means a continuity of relationship with positive male role models, so that the boys see constantly what it is to be a good man. Okay. So we've been incredibly lucky to have Mercedes-Benz South Africa as our primary principal donor since 2013. They have walked the road of when we were very small to now we are much bigger, and we have children in 23 different high schools. So where the kids are academically talented, they achieve bursaries, so to the Oprah School in Joburg, to Selborne College in East London, to DSG in Grahamstown, to Queen's College in Queenstown, because whilst those schools provide different challenges, you often are going to school with very wealthy children, and you're not. You're coming home to a very different environment. It doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't have access to that level of education. So Mercedes has walked that road with us, and a number of other donors and sponsors. We have long-term relationships with a group of women who, of which I was one, run up the Wild Coast 100 kilometres every year, the Wild Women on the Run, and they're all from East London in this area. So they don't just raise money for a new girl to come to school. There's a whole support around the work that we do, and there's a network there. We have 80 out of our 153 children whose school fees are sponsored by individuals across the world, South Africa and across the world, because we recognise that often parents from low income backgrounds don't have a lot of money, and even 400 Rand a month is too much. So we have a sponsorship policy that was developed by the parents as to who, if a sponsor comes forward, who's chosen first, because it's obviously a financial windfall. And so children with no parents are first priority, children with one parent are second, and then children with both parents, and then it goes to what they earn. So that provides a different income stream, and then some parents can afford fees and they pay school fees. We do fundraisers, we have a golf day, we are always seeking opportunities for people to invest in us. So that's just finished on Thursday. That was actually an expat South African in Hong Kong, Shelley, and she and two of her friends in Hong Kong ran the Hong Kong Marathon, and they ran an online fundraiser and they were wanting to raise money for one child for a year's education, and they ended up raising money for 4 children for a year's education. So that was incredible. That was an amazing fundraiser, and people from all over the world contributed small amounts to build up to being able to sponsor 4 children for a year. But the newest thing we're doing is we're starting a social enterprise, because we have run a small social enterprise before at the school. We have 110 beds and they're dorm style accommodation, so they're not very glamorous, but they're neat and tidy and close to the beach. And so we've leased those out for school and church camps in the past at 100 Rand a bed a night, and that's quite a good deal for churches and schools. But now we've just refurbished our computer hub, which is in the middle of the township, and we're starting a sewing project, sewing reusable, washable sanitary pads. And we're creating a circular economy. So let's say a company wanted to purchase sanitary pads, then a portion of the purchase price would go to fund African Angels School, and then local women will be employed to sew them. They'll be donated to girls in low income schools, so the girls stay in school, and we'll reduce plastic in the environment. So there is a computer lab that is in the middle of the township. It's a container-based lab, and there's access to laptops that 3 hours a day it's open. So you can go and use a laptop, but what we found is that most people work off their phones. So we have Wi-Fi that's donated by HeroTel. It's uncapped and it's unlimited. So anyone within range can get onto the Wi-Fi and they can surf the internet, get onto Facebook, send an email, whatever they want to do their banking if they've got an online banking. So we provide that free for anyone in the township. Because how much time do you spend online a day?
I know.
Yeah. They can contact me directly. And the first step is always visiting the school and seeing what it's like. Because sometimes people arrive and it's not what they think. That's always the case actually. They always arrive and they expect a small, untidy, unruly children's school, and they arrive and it's like, they often say, but my children are doing the same work as your children. I'm like, well, yes, they work with the same curriculum. So contact me, we'll arrange a visit to the school, and then we'll go from there. Because there's different ways of partnering. Sometimes it is offering services or volunteer time, but we are down a very bad road, so that usually puts people off. Our access road is, well, if it rains tonight, you won't get down it tomorrow. So it does put people off, but there's different ways of partnering and it's not always involving money. For example, we've got the Lunchbox Fund, and they provide dry goods. So they provide mealie meal and sampan beans and rice and soya mince, which supports our nutrition program. So that's a direct support to our kids' health, because if you're hungry, you can't learn. Yeah. So contact me and we'll go from there.